It starts quietly, not with thunder, not with grand announcements, but with a whisper, a soft wound that goes unseen. A child gazes through the foggy window of his childhood home, watching raindrops hit the ground like tiny drumbeats of unanswered questions. He wonders, am I loved? Am I safe? Does anyone see me? When no answer comes, the child learns to stop asking. This isn't a story of villains and heroes. It's not about cruel parents or a broken society. It's subtler than that. The story of an immature adult begins long before adulthood. It begins in the emotional soil of childhood, watered or left to crack under neglect. Before someone becomes a man or a woman, they are first an emotional being, absorbing everything. A child doesn't analyze, they absorb. And if what they absorb is mostly confusion, rejection, invalidation, or fear, they build their world on shaky legs. Yet those legs keep walking, because life moves forward. But emotional development, emotional maturity can freeze in time. An immature adult isn't unintelligent. Many hold jobs, raise families, smile at parties, and speak intelligently. But beneath that surface lives a hidden child, trapped in time, still waiting for love, clarity, or safety they never received. Here lies the complexity. Emotional maturity isn't about age. It's about integration, facing the emotional ghosts that whisper from the past. But the immature adult builds walls instead. The first wall, blame. They blame others for their feelings, their pain, their failures. If someone else is at fault, they don't have to face their own unresolved grief or the inner child who never learned to regulate emotion. Blame becomes a security blanket, a shield against responsibility, not from malice, but from deep fear. The second wall, denial. They deny their needs or exaggerate them. I don't need anyone, they say, while secretly aching for connection. Or they constantly seek attention, unaware of their own hunger. Denial isn't lying, it's psychological survival. The child who learned that showing emotion led to punishment or silence learned to shut down. Years later, they still don't know how to turn emotions back on. So the adult walks through life like an actor who never takes off the costume. They play the confident leader, the funny friend, the strong partner while inside. The child still pleads, please don't leave me. Please love me. Please don't make me feel small again. But no one hears, not even them. This brings the third wall, control. When we're emotionally immature, we fear uncertainty. We can't tolerate unpredictability, so we try to control everything: conversations, relationships, outcomes. We see disagreement as abandonment. Another's independence feels like rejection. The immature adult seeks control not from power hunger, but from terror. And the terrifying part, they don't even know what they're afraid of. The roots are buried too deep. That's why relationships become the mirror where emotional immaturity shows up. A romantic partner becomes the stage where every unmet childhood need performs. Arguments aren't just disagreements, they're reenactments of unhealed stories, unresolved cries, fears too old to name. You try to talk calmly, but they react like a wounded animal. You share your feelings, they feel attacked. You ask for space, they accuse you of leaving. In their world, everything is about survival. To the immature adult, love often feels like danger. Vulnerability feels like exposure, so instead of loving, they perform connection. They give gifts, share laughs, make memories, but when emotional truth arrives, when hard conversations begin, they retreat, lash out, or break down. Emotional maturity means being able to stay in discomfort, in uncertainty, to stay connected when it's hard, not just when it's easy. But for the emotionally immature, staying was never modeled. This leads to another tragic cycle, the idealization spiral. The immature adult sees people in extremes. At first, someone is perfect, an angel, a savior, a soulmate. But the moment that person disappoints them, sets a boundary, or acts imperfectly, they become the enemy. Love turns to resentment. Admiration becomes rage. This is black and white thinking. The inability to hold complexity. A child's need for certainty. In their emotional world, there's no room for nuance, because nuance requires maturity, and maturity requires integration. So they remain in a cycle. They seek intimacy, but fear closeness. They crave understanding, but avoid self-awareness. They want control, but end up feeling powerless. And the saddest part, most don't know any of this. They're not aware, because awareness is the final wall, the one that must be broken from within. No one can do it for them. And most never try, because to become emotionally mature is to grieve. To grow is to feel. To evolve is to revisit the very moments they tried hardest to forget. And that is terrifying. So they continue blaming, denying, controlling, idealizing, resenting, mistaking emotional reactions for emotional depth, mistaking independence for maturity, mistaking intelligence for growth. But growth isn't loud. It's quiet. It's crying alone in the car because you realize you hurt someone and don't know how to apologize. It's staying present in an argument instead of shutting down. It's saying, "I was wrong," and meaning it. It's choosing to understand, not just be understood. The psychology of an immature adult isn't about shame, it's about compassion. Because the truth is, we all carry some form of emotional immaturity. We were all children once. We all had unmet needs. We all built defenses that once kept us safe. But what once kept us safe now keeps us stuck. The difference is, some of us choose to stop, to look back, to listen, to unravel the threads of our emotional DNA and ask, what am I still carrying that no longer belongs to me? That question is the beginning of maturity. But it's only the beginning. True emotional maturity isn't built through books, degrees, or social achievements. It's carved in silence, often through the painful work of self-confrontation. It takes courage not to conquer the world, but to sit alone with yourself and not flinch at what you find. The immature adult avoids this. They're always in motion, chasing attention, success, pleasure, distraction, because stillness feels like danger. It reminds them of what's unresolved. And yet, stillness is the very medicine they need. Most immature adults weren't given emotional language as children. No one taught them to say, "I'm scared," or "I feel unloved," or "I need to talk." So they learned indirect languages, sarcasm, withdrawal, anger, deflection. They mistake vulnerability for weakness. They protect their ego as if it's their life, and in a way, it is. That ego is all they've ever known. But ego isn't identity, it's armor. And when you live your whole life armored, you never truly feel the sun. So they grow old, but not up. They gain knowledge, but not insight. They build relationships, but not intimacy. Because intimacy demands presence, honesty, and self-awareness, all of which the emotionally immature adult struggles with. Not because they're incapable, but because they're unpracticed. Emotional maturity is a practice, a discipline, a choice made again and again. To slow down when you want to react fast. To stay soft when everything in you wants to harden. To be quiet when your pride wants to scream. And perhaps most of all, to listen. Not just to others, but to yourself. To the parts of you you've silenced, avoided, or buried. Listening is the start of healing, but it's also the start of loss. Because as we mature, we lose parts of our old self. We lose the justifications, the illusions, the comforting lies we used to believe. We lose the idea that we were always right, that others were always wrong, that life owed us understanding without us doing the work to be understandable. The immature adult clings to these illusions, not out of malice, but because letting go feels like death. And in a way, it is a death, the death of the old self, the small self, the guarded self. And few are willing to die like that, because it's not a death that's celebrated. There are no trophies, no applause. Just you, your shadow, and the quiet work of integration. That's why many emotionally immature adults surround themselves with enablers. Partners who don't challenge them. Friends who laugh off their worst behavior. Environments where growth isn't expected. Because to be seen clearly is to risk rejection, and to be called out is to risk collapse. Their identity is a fragile house of cards. One strong gust of self-awareness could bring it all down. But some do let it fall. Some wake up one morning and realize, this isn't working. I'm hurting people. I'm stuck in cycles. I feel empty. That moment of reckoning is sacred. It's terrifying, but sacred. Because from there, something new can begin. Something honest. Something free. Growth doesn't always look noble. Sometimes it looks like crying in therapy. Sometimes it looks like journaling through shame. Sometimes it looks like sitting with the parts of you that never learned how to speak, and finally, gently, letting them be heard.